All right, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, citizens of YouTube. This is Pastor Dow. Hey, let me give you a scenario here, okay? All right. I'm homeschooling, okay? That usually comes on the heels of when your little brat or someone's little brat or someone's undisciplined child has actually went to the public food system and done something that they shouldn't have done, and the system didn't agree. And the parents gets upset. And then they say, I'm homeschooling. Well, the mother, who is highly upset because someone did something to her child that she refuses to discipline, and that's not always the case, so I don't want to paint a broad picture here. But she quickly finds out that homeschooling is not all that it's cracked up to be, because to homeschool, you have to be a caring mother that cares about the education of your children. That's what you have to be. You have to be personally involved in their lives, and you have to really want to deposit something in them other than sitting on your ass, getting fat, eating popcorn and chips, looking at soap opera, sitcom, and surfing on the internet and Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. Because today, most parents that even graduated school are not even intelligent enough to even homeschool. What are you going to do when your child gets in junior high, 8th, 9th, 10th grade, or 8th and 9th grade, when you've got Algebra 1, Algebra 2, you've got geometry, trig, that's just in math. And if you can't form sentence structure right, and if you don't even know the etymology of words, and if you have a very dismal understanding of history, how are you going to teach these children? What are you going to deposit in them? And I'm going to use this statement right here. Don't mean to be offensive, but let's just go ahead and tell the truth. If you are ignorant and dumb as hell in these areas, go figure that. I will be first to tell you that the public food system, they get about $5,000 a year per student from either the federal government or the state. That's what they get. All right? But notice, the school curriculum is a federal curriculum based upon what school you go to. And then you have low-quality teachers, and you have high-quality teachers as well, based on demographics, geographical location, etc., etc. And more likely, you're going to get a greater education in private schools, to where the rooms are not as packed and the teachers can actually spend more time on the students to actually educate them. Well, I've been homeschooling, or at least the community has been homeschooling ever since the beginning. And I'll be the first to tell you that homeschooling is expensive. For instance, just the average of school for our children, one child, I said average, I didn't say the overall cost, is about $2,500 a year. That's one child. That's not including books. That's not including other things that they're going to need in order to accomplish their education. And so a lot of people, they get mad and upset and they want to go homeschool, but they never counted the cost. Because if you are a person that is slothful, if you are a person that is not disciplined, father and mother. Because I remember when my children, when we were homeschooling them, we took them out of public school. And we started off with ABACA. Because we wanted to get them the best education possible. And like I said, my son, he breezed right through school. And I actually skipped him up. And I told Sister Carol, I said, man, that little boy, I said, tell you what we're going to do. We're going to make work twice as hard on him, but we're just not going to tell him. And when he was in high school, we was making him do college courses. He didn't know it, though, and we wasn't going to disclose it to him either. We did the same thing with Lydia. And Chuck said, I'm not going to college because I ain't going there and let them folks mess with my mind. I ain't going to do that. Lydia chose to go to school. I was totally against it. But what are you going to do when you're in captivity over here and your children who think they know everything are going to go out there? And, of course, you know, everything that Dad told her, it happened. But nevertheless, she went there on an academic scholarship, and she graduated from Western Kentucky University. So Sister Carol poured a lot into our children. And then I poured a lot into them. And then when Lydia was in college, she went for political science. And so she'd come home on the weekends and stuff and talk to me about the political atmosphere in nature. And then she'd go back to school and grill a professor. And of course, then the student was wondering who's the teacher, Lydia or the professor. And then they asked her, where'd you learn all this stuff from? She says, my dad. My dad. He tells me all this. He understands all this stuff. So, in other words, you're going to have to be involved in your children's upbringing and education. And then once they get old, they become an adult. Too many times, more often than not, they're going to go do their own little thing. As long as you train them up the right way. The scripture says, train up a child when they're young. It says when they get old, they're not going to depart from the faith. That's what it says. So there's a hope that your children, if they decide to go kick the traces like the prodigal son, or if they decide to go out from their father's house, there's a hope that the children would actually learn something. Learn something from being taught the proper way and the right way. But let's just tell the truth. Parents today are just entirely too self-centered, too self-focused, and too self-absorbed to deposit anything. I'm going to tell you right now. Oh, it's wonderful years when those little bitty babies come out. Yeah. And they're expensive. Very expensive. Wonderful when you see them little bitty babies come out. They come out. Everybody's happy and giddy and stuff, and they're pooping and breastfeeding and mama just pouring all that love and emotion into them. And guess what? You're going to have to spend the rest of your days correcting, reproving, rebuking, instructing that child the right way, if there's any righteousness in you at all. Because you know why? There's evil. That child was born in sin, shaping in iniquity. That's why you have to spend so much time correcting the child. So you have these irresponsible parents that get upset with the system, say they're going to go homeschool when they haven't even gotten themselves right. And then you know what happens? They get mad and upset for a little while. They find out that they're going to bit off more than they can chew. And then they're right back in the public school again. And then, of course, what's happening in public school? All the influences that come from the environment, the city, the township, the parish, or wherever you are, those parents who send those little monsters to their public school, they're going to put and insert their opinion, their preconceived ideals, their notions, their perspectives, their persuasions, their religion, their theology, their ideology, their philosophy. They're going to put all that, and your child is going to be introduced to a whole new world besides the world that you should have shaped them in. That's why the government and everybody else wants your children young, so they can influence the minds of your children at a very, very young age. I keep harping on this, I'm going to keep saying it again, but most parents today are just entirely too irresponsible. Way too irresponsible. And most people today, they function after their emotions. They get into their emotions. They get into their feelings. And they're just simply not educated at all, whatsoever at all. And so we're going to continue to decline because you've got people out there. First of all, number one, you can't afford homeschool, most of you. You can't afford $2,500 a year, in upwards of $3,500 a year. And you thought that homeschool was going to be free. You can't afford to sit on your morals. You've got to actually go out and do physical training with them. You've got to teach them something like as if you would in school. You know, I remember doing PT or physical training with the student because they had to have that in their homeschool curriculum. I remember taking them to the shop and teaching them how to square and build things. And then in the evening time, If they ran across a mathematical problem and stuff or something like that, if it was within my scope, I would handle it. And a lot of times, I sit and watch Sister Carol. If she didn't understand a curriculum, if she didn't understand a subject, I sit and watched her while the children were in bed study that subject the night before so that she would be able to teach them the next day. So she would be informed. And most of you just ain't got that in you. You are lazy ass mamas. And some of you are just sorry ass dads. Now, this is where people fall off. They get mad at me because they're not judging my intent. You see, if you have sown nothing in your youth, can you only imagine what you're going to be like when you get old? You know, you're a fool if you have sown nothing in your youth at all. You have deposited nothing in the generation, because the truth is, when you have children, your life is over with. I knew it. Life is over with because you are there to help those children hopefully be better than you. That's a hope. That's a hope. When you do your job, you will have a clear conscience. But see, children right now are very influential when they're from the ages of 1 to 12. When they get 13, something clicks. It's like, what in the world? What happened? They're entering into the teenage years, and they're starting to usurp, and they're starting to think for themselves. And if their thoughts don't line up with your thoughts, they're going to oppose you. Then you have to correct them and use even harsher methods. Them teenage years are coming. Oh, they're wonderful when they're youngster, but them teenage years are coming. Woo-wee, are they coming? Hold on one second. Every time I turn around, do a video, damn phone just goes off the hook, boy. And of course, it's my own fault. I should be shutting everything down before I actually do a video. That's what I should be doing. But it ain't their fault. They don't know if I'm doing a video or not. But anyway, when they become teenagers, you don't even recognize those little things you were holding like this. You don't even recognize them when they were in elementary. And nowadays, there's like in this society up here, they have an epidemic up here in this small country town. There are so many little girls and little boys becoming fathers and mothers, or shall we say little boys fathering little girls. There are 8th grade girls. By the time they hit 9th grade, they're having babies. Children up here in this little township right here. They're having, can you believe that? They're having children at 13 and 14 and 15 years old. Children! I remember when I was in high school, there was a girl by the name of Misty. And she got pregnant in high school, and it was, oh boy. I mean, but you know what? Those two, far as as far as my knowledge goes, they're still together today. And but man, these children, man, they're getting out here, they get on this internet, they watching these movies, and boy, they burning today, and they having all these children with no responsible men whatsoever at all. And then people got a nerve to call us cult when these Christian churches are full of bastards. Isn't that amazing? See, our little girls, they don't get pregnant in their teenage years. In the whole of the ministry. Don't happen. If you're connected with us and you're falling under the authority of one of the elders in the geographical location to where you have checks and balances and accountability, that don't happen with us. We got a good thing going. Just like we got a good thing going. We have people that are 78 years old, all the way down to 4 weeks old, and there's nobody on prescription drugs. Zero. Not even an aspirin. Can you say that? Some of you are preachers and teachers, and you're sick as hell. Some of the biggest hypocrites that there is. Stage playing hypocrites. And you know what else? On this community right here, nobody is on welfare. Government funding, EBT cards, none of that stuff. The government should be giving me a kickback. See, we have a community. We have an environment that is just unparalleled And if people would follow it, society would be a great order today. We live a quiet and peaceful life. We know who our neighbors are because we chose them. And they chose us. Our children dwell in safety. They don't have to worry about no pedophiles. They don't have to worry about transgender bathrooms. They don't have to worry about, they know what bathroom it says, sisters, brothers. The children are not confused. They know who and what they are and what they were designed for. We teach them biblical principles. We teach them morals, morality. Yeah, we do. But I said all this to say this, that don't sit up and get a case of the ass and think you're ready to homeschool, because most of you women out there, you just don't have it in you. You don't have the qualities inside of you to be able to pour something positive into your children. You can't be led by your emotions, think you're going to do it, because you're going to fail and they're going to right back in the public school again. That's why you've got to repent and change. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. And then another thing is there enough income in the household to homeschool children? Because, I mean, after all, I took on quite a few families. And if you go 2,500, let's just say if you take 3 children. Let's say, no, one time we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One time we had 7 children at this community in homeschool. At one time, I'm talking about recently. We had a whole lot more than that a long time ago. Do you have $17,500 a year, bare minimum, to deposit and set aside and put them children to school in? Do you have it? Because that's what it's going to cost. That's what it's going to. In other words, it's not free, especially if it's going to be an accredited school system. And the other day I heard that somebody said, well, you're going to have problems in accredited. No. The problem is that ignorant, dumbass mind are not knowing how to do things. And you can't take any correction to learn how to do things. Because how is it that you got problems and we've got people who have graduated from our school system that have gone on to the military and had careers, that have entered into college and graduated and used the same school curriculum? Boy, the thoughts, man. Only amazing. And I even had people call here and said, I would like to speak to the pastor, the principal, or whoever's in charge of this, and just literally commend me for the type of students and the testing scores that our children received. I mean, literally, and then they also thanked me for my service to our country. Amazing, isn't it? Amazing, isn't it? And you won't call me a hypocrite and a cult? No. I learned this a long time ago. The ones who put forth the finger, 9 times out of 10 are the ones who's usually more guilty than what they accuse somebody else of. Usually people who are the most passionate of putting forth the finger are guilty and condemned in the very same area. They just don't hate the sin in themselves. And even if they perceive it on somebody else, because it ain't discernment, they go after that, but they never correct themselves. Hypocrites. Anyway, I thought I'd give an education here this morning because you need it. You need it. Because one day those little babies going to grow up and they're going to be taught. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Do you have the finances? Do you have the self-determination and the self-discipline? Do you have the care? Do you have the qualities of a true mother and true father? Which those qualities are quickly being eroded today. I watch and see the philosophy and the thought of the day, and I just literally shake my head. One thing about it, I ain't never had nobody a generation before me, or 20 or 30 years before me, that ever look at me and my family and just shake their head. They've always given me words of commendation of what wonderful and good job that we were doing with our children as well as with the ministry. I spend time educating myself, and I even have education. But I tell you what, that best education, according to our Hebrew culture, is becoming not hearers, but doers of the word. So today you got people out here that are using human beings, using people to go and accomplish their will, calling themselves leaders while they sitting back like a fat cat. Women, their wives still on the job. How can you woman be? That's another thing you consider. How can you homeschool your children if your wife has to go to work? If she has to be on the job? How can you homeschool your children? Because that time needs to be there for the child. Well, hey, after all, whether you're here for bear, I'm a pastor. I hope you heard what I said, because you're going to deal with these realities. And that's the truth. And that's the truth. Straight way. Y'all have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful, well, hey, we're coming up on the wicked end. Have a wonderful wicked end.